Okay, hey guys, I'm going to show you just real quickly how to use iMovie to edit one of those talking point videos that you see. Maybe you've seen some of mine on pursueGOD.org or flextalk.org. In fact, I'll put a link to one of those samples right below this video so you can see what I'm talking about. But I've found that iMovie is one of the simplest ways. If you've already got a Mac, iMovie is free. Now, if you need more detailed stuff, I would encourage you to use Adobe Premiere Elements or just the full-on Adobe Premiere, but those cost a little bit more money, and it's actually what I found, it's a lot simpler to do it in iMovie. So I'm going to do it real quick, and I'll go pretty quickly through this. I'm not going to talk about how to write a video script or camera usage or camera setup or any of that stuff. That I have that in some other videos. This is just purely how to edit one of your own videos. Typically I can record a video and in 10 or 15 minutes worth of raw footage and edit it down within just 15 or 20 minutes. It's super simple to do. So let me just show you how to do it. So I'm on iMovie right here. So I'm going to click on Create New iMovie, and it will open up an iMovie. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to import your media. And I actually, whenever I have raw footage, either from an iPhone or from an SD card from a better camera, I always like to put it in my downloads folder, because then after I'm done with that raw file, I want to delete that file because it'll take up a ton of space. So I'm gonna grab it from notice I'm in the downloads file. I'm gonna grab Grid 2 Youth. That's gonna be my raw footage that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna import it, and notice it's taken a second here to import. And once it imports, then we can start working on it. All right. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to zoom just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to zoom to like this or something like that. Okay. Also, one of the things that I really encourage you to do is to go up into, your preferences. Let me see where it is. Into your view settings, and make sure that you click here where it says show waveforms. Now, if I click on it, it says hide waveforms, but you want to show waveforms, because what that'll do is it'll show you the audio. You see this audio right here? Let me just turn this down. So this audio right here, this is your waveform audio. So I can see where she's talking and where she's not talking. Okay, so that's pretty important. That's some good stuff right there. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to just start playing everything up in here. This is your raw footage. And what you're going to do is, the simplest way is just to use the I and the O button on your keyboard to get what you want. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to hit the space bar now. And when I hit the space bar, and I've muted it so you're not going to be able to hear it. Okay. When you hit the space bar, it will start showing you your your raw footage. Now when you hit the space bar again, it'll pause. So you can just toggle play and pause. So that's what that space bar is for. So let's say that right here, I want to go ahead. This is the beginning of the section that I want. Okay. So I'm going to hit the I button, and you notice what it does then is it moves that little yellow box, that marker, it moves it to right where I am. I can use the right arrow and the left arrow. See, I'm using the left arrow right now to get just little increments, and when I've got that cursor right where I want it up here, now I just hit that little I button, and the I button is going to put it right there. Okay, that's going to be the intro section of the video clip that I want. And then I hit that space bar again, and it's going to keep moving now. And let's say that right here I'm going to hit the space bar again. Let's say right here. Okay, so now right there I hit the O button. So notice when I hit the I button, it marked the front of the clip. When I hit the O button, it marked the back of the clip. So now I'm just going to hit this little plus, and it will push it down here into the timeline. This is actually the working timeline that I'm going to export as my final video once I'm done. So basically you want to just do that. You want to use that I. You just keep going through your raw footage. So let's say that I'm going to come over here now, and I'm going to hit the I button. I'm going to hit the pause button or the space bar button to unpause it. And then I'm going to do it right. Let's say I'm going to do it right here. So I'm going to go I right there. And then I'm going to go to, let's say I'm going to go to about right here. I'm going to hit the O button. And then I'm going to just hit that plus sign. So notice what it did is it just put it right next to my first clip. So now I've got those two clips right next to each other. You can zoom in and out with this little button right here. So there are my 2 clips. Let me just do a couple more. So let's say that I want to take it right here, the I button, then I hit that space bar, and I'm going to go to the end of the clip. Let's say it's right here, and I hit the O button, and then I hit that plus sign and I add it in there. So once you do that, that'll take some time. The better you are on video, the fewer mistakes you make, then obviously the easier it is to do this. But so step number 1 is just to get all of the content that you actually want in your video. So I'm going to just take just one more. I'm going to go right here, I there, and I'm going to go O way over here. Okay, so I've got just a little more to work with. Okay, so let's say that those are the clips that I want, and it's really good. Now all I need to do is add just a few transitions, and then I'm going to add my my text over. If you want to use text overlays, I'll show you how to do all of that. Actually, before I show you that though, let me just show you one other thing. Before you do any of this, one of the best things that you can do is just make sure that you mess with your levels, your audio levels. Here's the best way to do your audio levels. I always like, depending on your microphone, on my microphone, I always like to equalize it to bass boost because my microphone's a little tinny. And then I also, so that's how you equalize right there. And this right here is how you would change the volume of your clip. So I'm going to clip in here. So notice that entire raw clip is chosen, and you click in here, and right here where you can go down and take a look at the waveforms when I do this, those waveforms in blue. When I go down to 50%, see what's happening? Those waveforms are shrinking. I actually want to go as high as I can before any of it turns yellow. See how that stuff at the top of the waveform, that's yellow? That's no good because that's peaking. So 264 is way too high. So I want to go to right, and I'm looking at kind of all of it. I want to go to right about there, 132, because there's no yellow up there. So that's what I like to do just to get all of those waveforms at a good solid level, because your microphone, depending on your microphone, it might be a little bit too low. So you just want to get that as high as you can without peaking out into yellow. And again, I encourage you to do that even before you do any of this clipping that I did down here. So do that first, because if you don't do that first, then after you're done, you're going to have to come in here and you're going to have to drag and select all of those. And then you're going to have to go in and change those to, 132 or whatever that was that we had before. 132, there it is. Okay. All right. Okay, so let me show you just real quick transitions and backgrounds. Now, I don't like to use a lot of transitions. I think they can get really cheesy really fast. Now, it's up to you, depending on your channel and your niche and your audience and your style and all that stuff. But a few transitions I like to use that are pretty simple in iMovie is I like to use fade to white at the very beginning of the video, because then it gives me this right here. So that's good. I like the fade. Again, you can do what you want, but let me just show you what I like to do. So I do fade to white there. And then I might use another fade to white transition somewhere else, but that's about it, right? So those are really the only transitions I'll use for right now. Let me just show you how to set up a title. Okay. There are 2 titles that I like to use. Okay. For my talking points, I like to use this expand title. Let me just show you what you do to get a title. So let's say that I want to put a title right over this right here, right over this clip right here. So I'm going to go into a background. Again, if this is all too fast for you, just watch this video a few times, try it a few times. It doesn't take long to master this. It's really super simple. So I'm going to use, let's say that I'm going to use this this blobs right here. Okay, I'm going to use this as my background. So you notice what happens is, when I go right here and I hit that space bar and start playing, there goes the blob. So that blob is a background for me, okay? So now what I'm going to do, and notice it was a moving background too. That was pretty cool. So now I've got my background, and now I'm going to just put some text over the top of that. Again, you can just mess with this and use whatever text, whatever font you want, but I like this text I like this expand text. And I just drag it over right on top of that blob. So notice it's on top, so it's the videos below, and layered on top is the blob background, and then on top of that is the text, right? And so now what I can do is I'm going to say, okay, here is my text, okay? And pick your font, pick your size, whatever. right? But this is what I actually like to use, Avenir Next regular. So that's what I'm going to use. So now watch what happens with that expand. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to hit play. And so here's what that looks like. Here's my text. And then it's off and it's back on Kenzie. So what you can do then with that is you can stretch it. I always like for my talking points to be about 10 seconds long. So let's show you how to do that. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to move. I'm having a hard time moving it. I'm going to move it out to, 8 or 9 or 10 seconds. And 10 seconds is pretty close to the end of that clip, so I'm going to just move it to the end of that clip. Okay, now I'm going to take that text overlay and I'm going to do the same thing to the text overlay. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to move that all the way to the end of the clip. So now look what happened. So here we go. Ready? Let's see what that looks like. And there goes the text overlay. Here's my text. It's going to stay on there while she explains that talking point, and then it's just going to fade out and get back on her. Okay, so pretty simple. That's how you do a text overlay. Again, you can make your own background images and import them or whatever you want to do. It's really simple. The one other text that I like to use, I would use that same background. So let's use like the blob background again. And then the other text that I like to use, like if I'm doing scripture verses or quotes, something that is a lot more block text, then I'll use this centered text right here. So those are the two that I use. I use centered for my scripture verses. So I'll be like, okay, here is scripture, and it's like a lot of, if there's really a lot of information there. Okay, so now what I like to do is I like to select all of that. And I like to use whatever the same font is. I like to use Avenir Next Ultra Light for scripture. I take out the outlines, change the color if you want to right there. Change the size. For my scripture, I like to use 58. And so there's my scripture text right there. Again, it looks pretty small on your screen, but it looks decent typically. So maybe you go a little bit bigger. Again, you can mess with this, but what I encourage you to do, maybe you're using 80, is figure out what background you like, figure out what font you like, and then sort of stick to that and don't get too complicated with it. There's really only a couple of transitions I use. There's only a couple of text images I use. So again, I use the expand, and then I use the centered for my scripture. And then if I'm gonna put like my name on there, I'll use expand lower third. So if you want to put your name at the beginning of the video, let's move it over here to the beginning of the video. So let's say that when Kenzie comes on, I'm going to put her name right there. So I'm going to go in here. Again, this is something you don't have to do, but I'm going to do it just for now so you can see it. Notice it's Avenir Next Regular, so that's fine. I like that font. So I'm going to put Kenzie's name here. And that, now watch what happens right there. There's the opener. There comes her name. It's going to fade back out after 4 seconds, and now we're on to the rest of the video. Okay, so we're almost done now. I'm just going to show you one more thing. I like to put an outro in there. There's a nice little pursueGOD outro that I've downloaded. If I know that this is going to go on pursueGOD.org, then I'm going to use that particular outro video. So let me show you. What I do with those videos is I put those in my documents. I have a little folder called video assets. And so pursueGOD assets, and I'm going to this pursueGOD intro outro MP4, I'm going to import that. And when I import that, then I go into my media, and there it is. So I'm going to take that right there and I'm going to drag it to the end of this video. Okay. I usually like to put a little cross dissolve transition in between that last clip and that video. And so this is what that'll look like at the end. Obviously that you wouldn't cut her off in the middle of her statement, but that's just giving you a sense for how that works. Okay. So once I get all that done, there's one more thing you might want to do, and you might possibly want to bring in an audio track. So let me just show you that one last thing. Again, I don't usually use audio, but every once in a while I do. So let me show you. I keep that in a little soundtrack folder in my video assets. It's always good to keep yourself organized. So I'm going to use this one right here. So I'm going to click over to my media, and there's my soundtrack. So let me show you how this works. So I'm going to drag that soundtrack to the bottom here underneath, and then that soundtrack is way longer than it needs to be, so I'm going to drag it all, whoops, that's not what I want to do. That was fading it out. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, right here, I want to just cut it right there. So I double click right there, or right click right there, and I trim to playhead. Whoops, that's not how I wanted to do it. I trimmed it the wrong way. I'm going to clip right here, and I'm going to split. That's what I want. I want to split the clip. And I'm going to delete the back half of it. I'm going to keep the front half of it. Let me just show you one other trick. If you go, okay, so if you want that audio, but you want iTunes to automatically lower the clip volume, well, there's two ways to do it. Is you could just click on that clip and lower it to, like, I don't know, lower it to 10% or 15% or something like that is probably fine. So let's listen to that.
Today we're on day 7, and we're going to look at one of the most important.
Yeah, you can barely hear it, so that's good. 10 or 15% is usually good for a soundtrack. So if you want a soundtrack, put it in there. The other way to do that, the other way to do the fade where iTunes does it or iMovie does it automatically, is to select all of the video right there. The video that your main video. So notice I selected all the main video, and I click in here into the audio button and I say lower the volume of other clips, and that will automatically lower the volume of that soundtrack at the bottom. I actually prefer to just lower it to like 10%. That usually works a little bit better for me anyway. So anyway, those are some just tips and tricks, and once you're done with it, you can just click this export button, and you can export it into a file, or you can export it directly onto YouTube or to Facebook. I'm going to just show you. So I do this. Here are the settings I like to use. I like to use 1080p, quality high or medium. Do not use best. That will produce way too big of a file size. And then I just hit next, and it exports it to a file, and then I can upload it to my YouTube channel and go from there. So anyway, again, this is probably if you already have a Mac and you want to start producing content for your YouTube channel, conversational type content, value-based or Bible-based content for your YouTube channel, and it's just a short little video. This is really a simple way to do it. You don't have to create any slides or anything like that. If you do it a few times, you'll really get good at it. And typically for me, it takes me, after I record a video, it usually takes me less than half an hour to do all of this editing and export it, and then we're done. So thanks for watching. Again, check out some of the links below this video if you want to learn more about being a creator and creating your YouTube channel and writing content for your channel to be used at pursueGOD.org or flextalk.org.